Today, we are picking a stock in the Indian chemical space. When a financial advisor launched a report of a possible IPO of the promoters of the India's largest conglomerate, the markets went haywire. While group companies all rose, this chemical firm's share price grew by nearly 40%. This is also the first growth spike for this after being nearly sideways for over 2 years. However, the firm has had a decline in revenues for the last 4 quarters consecutively and is expected to shrink further due to the global market oversupply and lack of demand. Is this share spike just a bubble waiting to burst? चलिए जानते हैं. तो शुरू करते हैं एक unbiased coverage just based on facts on one of the companies on the India's largest conglomerate, Tata Chemicals Limited. My name is Ashish Thomas. I'm an IIM graduate and a management consultant. My daily job is to evaluate firms, understand their risk, and anticipate market moves. And I thought, why not apply all of this to the stock market? So here we are, and let's jump right in. As with our previous videos, we begin with industry analysis, then move on to the business model. Then we'll take a peek under the hoods of its financials. फिर इस कंपनी के risk देखेंगे, and finally the valuations. With that preamble, let's dive in to understand the winds of change in the industry. The demand in the Indian soda ash space is expected to grow at 2 to 3% CAGR and current capacity is large enough to meet current demands. Still, India imports majority of its soda ash, even Turkey, China and US are more price competitive. In addition, the 2 to 3% CAGR is significantly lesser than the Indian GDP growth, indicating the softness of demand in this market. With the high inventory stocking, there has been a sudden decline in demand for soda ash in the downstream glass manufacturing industry as they are clearing out their existing inventory. In addition, new capacity increase in China and US has resulted in oversupply of the product in the market. This situation is not expected to clear out for at least next 2 years, so soda ash manufacturers will face pressure in near-time future. So soda ash industry is not really conducive for growth and companies are fundamentally getting restricted to grow and thrive in this space. In fact, in the green line, I've superimposed Tata Chemicals' share price and you will see the peaks coming when the prices were increasing and the decline when prices were going down. The share price and the soda ash price. Both 2024 and 2025 are expected to be years of softer prices, so this will impact Tata Chemicals share from business as usual perspective. दूसरा इंडस्ट्री जो हम देखने वाले हैं वो है स्पेशलिटी केमिकल्स. In the specialty chemicals, Indian market is expected to grow at 19% CAGR with a strong domestic demand and a strong export demand due to China Plus One policy. आपको याद होगा we had touched about this policy in the last video और ये policy companies are using to defend their supply chain. So specialty chemicals with its use in pharma, agriculture, fertilizers, automotive and others is now a sunrise industry with a lot of room for the players to grow in the space. From here, we start with a quick glance on some of the highlights of the firm, then move on to understanding the competitive edge and strategy by the company. Then we'll finally look at some of the news that the firm has been making in the market. Tata Chemicals is an 80-year-old commodity company and it's trying to rebrand itself as a specialty and a consumer product company. It's the world's third largest producer of soda ash with manufacturing facilities in United States, Kenya, United Kingdom and India. There are 3 broad diversified lines of business, basic chemistry being one. Then second is the specialty chemicals where they are making prebiotics and agri-chemicals. And third one, through its listed subsidiary Rallis India, the high-grade seeds and crop care. It has 13 manufacturing units across 4 geographical areas with 3 R&D centers, making it world's most geographically diverse soda ash firm. Now there are 3 things that gives Tata Chemicals a competitive edge based on its current strategy. Diverse digital business portfolio है, इतने sparse products हैं across geography, so they are almost using next-gen digital twin processes to augment the production as well as reduce risks. दूसरा काफी investments हैं in green chemistry, तो इससे sustainable products बना रहे हैं. Its fermentation-based platform has already yielded high-margin prebiotics product, और the highly dispersible silica is gaining popularity in the tire industry. These sustainable solutions are hard to replicate for the new entrants. And finally, it is a Tata brand, which allows it to leverage the extensive distribution network and even have its own downstream internal group company agreements to purchase the products like salt, which provides very strong revenue visibility. Finally, what I've done is I've superimposed its share price movement to showcase how the stock has reacted to the news. पहले तो ये है कि अगर आप last 2 years को देखो तो share has been moving sideways, reacting sharply to low revenue figures, new product expansions, new capacity launch. Otherwise, there's not a lot of things that are happening in the firm. It was regularly viewed as a wealth destroyer. फाइनली जहां से हमने स्टार्ट किया था ये कवरेज द टाटा सन्स का आईपीओ. तो स्टोरी ये है कि स्पार्क कैपिटल जो एक फाइनेंशियल एडवाइजर कंपनी है उन्होंने एक रिपोर्ट निकाला और व्हाट इफ सिनेरियो. दैट इज अ सिनेरियो, इट इज अ सिनेरियो इन देयर माइंड. आरबीआई ने जब सितंबर 2022 में टाटा सन्स को एक अपर लेयर एनबीएफसी में डाला था तो अकॉर्डिंग टू देयर रूल्स अपर लेयर एनबीएफसीज हैव टू गो पब्लिक इन 3 years. सो जब ये इन्होंने रिपोर्ट बोला तो व्हाट इफ टाटा सन्स वर टू लॉन्च अ 55 lakh crores IPO which is the largest for this country. However, over the weekend, there are reports that Tata Sons would rather restructure itself by transferring stakes to Tata Capital and other companies. It's also logical as going public would also mean that it will come under a lot of multiple regulatory scrutinies and can also impact the way it raises debt, either through banks or markets. So it's a wait and watch, but more likely that Tata Sons would not go through the IPO route. So having said that, any news on the IPO not being there can actually severely impact Tata Chemicals share price. With that, let's move on to our next section, the financials. Numbers don't lie. But before we go there, आपने काफी सारे stock analysis videos देखे होंगे, but a very few go into the kind of depth like we are going today. So please go like the video अगर you haven't already and do subscribe. वहाँ पे एक bell icon होगा, वहाँ पे all notifications click कीजिएगा because I want you to be up to date with all the new stock analysis that we'll be launching. 2000 stocks, 365 days. तो content तो काफी आने वाला है. With some typing, we're going to use the 2024 Q3 and Q4 projections for this analysis. Tata Chemicals revenue fell down by 7% due to the fall in soda ash prices. While Rallis India was able to display some growth, the overall there was a decline in other businesses, including the specialty chemicals, which actually accounts only for the 15% of the business. Both EBITDA and PAT severely decreased due to the increased input costs, and there is expected to be a continued pressure on both of them for the next 2 years. On operational front, operating cash flows improved purely because of the change in working capital, which is an indication of a good, efficient cash management process. They've continued their capex because of being cash rich on their soda ash business. So to increase the capacity of the soda ash and bicarbonate, as well as launch new platforms in the specialty side. The ratios are not healthy when compared against the industry. It's low debt to equity ratios that ensure that it can get more funding for the expenses, but it's still higher than the industry median. Its ROE and ROA are all lower than the industry, which means there's still a lot more room for efficiency. Do note that its sheer size and presence across geographies can result in inefficiencies which may not be applicable to its industry peers. However, the ratios are really low performing when you look at it from a market perspective. Its EPS has also reduced given the declined earnings which are there. Now, the equity research analyst, as recent as February of 2024, had predicted that the share price will be around 770 to 904. All of which has been met because of the sudden share market hike. They're anticipating the revenues to actually fall in the next couple of years by 5% and the continued stress on the ratios. Analysts believe that there will be some balancing which will happen as new use case emerges for soda ash in the solar glass and lithium-ion batteries. Finally, a note on the shareholders, the holding pattern is actually stable with no insider selling. FIs have in fact decreased their stake with Goldman and some other players exiting the company. However, nothing very concerning yet from the stakeholder or shareholder's perspective. With every great investment comes some noteworthy risks. So there are 4 areas of risk which go along with the high growth sector. Market demand का volatility है, तो जब तक ये overstocking रहेगा, तब तक ये risk रहेगा on the company. Any kind of disruption which happens in the supply chain can result in increase of payable days for the firm. बाहर का soda ash and bicarbonate, especially from Turkey and Europe and China and Asian markets, is cheap, which results in surge of imports in geographies where Tata Chemical operates. And finally, because of the geographical presence, any taxation on regulatory changes can impact Tata Chemicals. A recent instance being the ones taxation increases in Magadhi and US. So it's a very known issue for the firm. With that, the final section or the most awaited section, at least for me, is the valuations. This is my football field, which you've seen in earlier videos. अगर आप equity research targets देखें, तो their low is 780 and going as high as 904. When I ran the relative valuation and looked for trading comparables, it came out around 920 to 1154. So with that, it's still overvalued among its company peers. This was expected as its ratios were poorer than the industry players. I'll also add that stock is trading at a PE of 19.3, which is below the market median of 30. Its book value is around 840, which is less than the current price of 1300, which is going on. Do note that the book value only talks about the value spent on building all the asset, but does not talk about the earning potential of the firm. So we need to keep that in mind. As for its intrinsic valuation or DCF, which अगर आप सिर्फ financial देखो और project करो, it comes around 622 and 784 with a discounted cost of capital around 10.7 and long-term growth of 6.5%. So it's still overvalued from this perspective too. So overall, the stock is overvalued at the moment. This is not a value buy at the moment. It's purely boosted because of the IPO news. There's nothing in the financials or the investment that justifies the pricing which is there at the moment. So final thoughts. अगर आप लोगों को अच्छा लग रहा हो वीडियो तो जरूर लिखना what is the next share you want me to look into, and do not forget to click the bell icon to get all the notifications. The goods. It's a global player, part of the largest Indian house, and products in green chemistry or lithium-ion use cases can diversify the revenue. The bads. Slowdown in the demand and the oversupply conditions are expected to persist for another 2 years. This has also resulted in a decline of revenue over the quarters and is predicted to go that way ahead. EBITDA margins are also under pressure due to higher input costs and low margin product mix. I think with that, my opinion is that there is not a lot of goods to Tata Chemicals as it seems. While ये बात सही है कि IPO rumor के कारण stock 40% ऊपर गया है, but any kind of change from that IPO news or any kind of restructuring which Tata Sons is more likely to do will crash the share into uncertainty because there is nothing fundamental to stand for the stock. That's all from me today. I hope this has given you a great starting point as you think about Tata Chemicals as a share. Do like the video and please drop in a comment if you like something or anything that I should change. आपके comments काफी valuable रहेंगे as I continue to build this channel. Do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and please share this with all the like-minded investors. Do note that I'm not SEBI registered and these are my independent views and analysis, so please do your own research and let me know about what you feel about Tata Chemicals as a share. Thank you.